Yeah, welcome back guys to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be showing you something more creative. We're going to be creating our own columns. So by our own columns, I mean this type of columns that you always see in the State House, White House, the Greek type of columns. So I'm just going to come here to my file and bring one into my home page so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to bring one from my downloads, and you can now design it. I'm just going to place it there, and this is what I'm talking about, this type of columns. So first I'm just going to resize my image, and we're going to make sure it's a type of column that you can, a realistic type of column. So I'm just going to make sure here up to somewhere here is like 200, like a read column, and we're going to start like, or maybe 300. I'm going to enter, and it's going to resize itself like this. So with that done, I'm going to now drag it somewhere up here. Then we're going to design this column. So for this column, we're going to design it in 3 parts. We're going to design the whole, the base, the capital, and then the shaft. So for the base and capital, you're going to use the same concept. So I'm going to design them first, and then the shaft, I'm going to design it last. Then I'm going to bring them together and create a new object that I'm going to save it as a column. So with that said, first we're going to design the base, and with this we're going to use our complex profiles for each step until we find we create all 3 of them. So let me first design the base and then the capital. So to design the base, I first have to cut this base profile here into half so that I can use it in my complex profile. So I cut it, for example, here. I have to make sure it's half somewhere here, somewhere down here. So with that cut, I'm just going to draw out my column base section. Then we're going to use it for designing the whole base. So I'm going to now draw it out like this, yeah, something like this, and then backspace. Then let's come here, there, here, there, there. Continue until you finish off the loop. Yeah, so with that finished, we're now going to consider these curves. I'm just going to select them. Let me first suspend the groups, and then I'm just going to make sure these curves are considered. So let me come here, consider this curve too, and then this curve too. So with that said, now we have our base profile that we're going to use in the complex profile, and then I'm just going to do the same for our capital so that we don't waste time when we're starting to design it. So I'm just going to cut it off in the middle here, and then I'm just going to draw the same thing. So let me make sure it's somewhere there, and then draw it out. Let's now zoom, backspace, so I can do it in the right place. Then we drag it out like this and draw it out, so until you finish off the loop. So yeah, so I'm just going to consider these curves again. Let me first, yeah, then I'm going to consider them too. So yeah, with that done, now we have our capital profile, and now we have our base profile. So I'm going to now regroup them again, and then I'm going to select the base one first. Then I'm going to copy these lines, and then I'm going to go to the complex profile and create my base. So I'm going to create a new profile. Make sure it's in concrete, and let me just choose one of the concretes here, and then I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it base with some many e's because I have other bases. So I'm just going to press OK, and then with that said, I'm just going to now paste the one that I have, the lines that I had, and press OK. And then I'm just going to drag these lines because they are going to appear far from my origin. I'm just going to drag them to where my origin is. By origin, I mean where this is. Let me just drag it here, and I can show you what the origin is. I'm going to delete this one that you have, and this X is what I mean by the origin. So I'm just going to drag it next to my origin there, so, and make sure it's in the origin area. So with that done, I'm going to use my fill tool, I'm going to fill it up, and then I'm going to make sure my fill is in concrete, and then my surface is going to be white because this type of columns are usually white. Paint and then glossy white, and then with everything saved, I'm going to use it as a wall. For my capital and base, I'm going to use this profile as a wall. So I'm going to make sure the only thing selected here is the wall. Then I'm going to save it, and it's going to appear on this window. So if it does not appear on this window, it means there's a problem, and you have to look at where the origin is. So make sure the origin is at the base, or it's just somewhere near to my field here. So with that done, I'm going to now close the profile manager, and then we're going to now draw out our column base. So for our column base, I'm going to now draw the column itself. I'm going to highlight how big the column is going to be. So I'm going to tab it out and make sure it's a reasonable size, like 400 by 400. So I'm going to enter, and then let me first drag this somewhere. Yeah, let me drag it somewhere that is a bit more, yeah, somewhere like there. So and then I'm going to magic wand my column base that I've just created, this one, and then I'm just going to magic wand it on where how big the column is supposed to be. I'm just going to magic wand it, and something like this is going to appear. So I'm just going to see it in 3D so that you can see what I'm doing, and something like this is going to appear for our column base. I'm just going to highlight it and remove these dark parts here. I'm going to highlight the whole column base, and then I'm going to go to my surface here, and then I'm going to make sure everything is on, and then make them uniform. So I'm going to look for my paint that is glossy white, and it's going to run through all of them. So the whole thing is going to be white, and that's our column base. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the ground floor and make our capital. We're going to now select the capital lines. We're going to copy them, and then we're going to go back to our options, complex profile manager, and then we're going to add another profile and make sure it's in concrete. Let me select the one that I want, and then I'm going to create a new one, and then we're going to call it capital. Yeah, so I'm going to press OK, and a new profile is going to open up. So that done, I'm going to paste my capital. So I'm going to press OK, and then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag it to where my origin is so that I can design it correctly. So let me make sure and drag it to where my origin is. Let me just, yeah, somewhere here. So I'm going to paste it somewhere here, and then delete this one and put it where my origin is now. So I'm going to put it there. Now we have our capital. So I'm going to now take the fill tool and just do the same thing like we did for our base. So I'm going to select the whole fill and then override the surface, and we are going to make sure it's in paint glossy white, so something like that, and then make sure it's a wall too, and then we are going to save it. And if it appears it now, it's a correct thing we are doing. So if it appears in this window, we've done the correct thing. So I'm just going to close the window, and we are going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take these lines, or I can just draw another line. Let me draw another line just adjacent to this one, 400 by 400. Let me call it 400, and then 400. And then I'm just going to magic wand my capital onto it. So I'm going to go to the wall, go to this one, and then go to capital, and then I'm going to magic wand it on it. So something like this, and then you're going to just see what we are doing. So let me go open it, so show it in 3D, and then you have something like this. So I'm going to select all of it, and then make sure everything is glossy white. So I'm going to open up all the surfaces and make them uniform, and go to the paints and make sure glossy white is selected. So that done, now we have our base and we have our capital. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to design our shaft. So for our shaft, we're going to have a different approach. We're going to have a bigger shaft. So let me me just see how wide this is, how wide the base is, so that we can use it for reference with our shaft. So I'm going to use my line tool. I'm going to see how wide my base is. So the base is something like 1000. It might be something unrealistic, but we're just doing it for designing purposes. So I'm going to make my shafts a bit something like maybe 600. So I'm just going to take a circle now, and then we're going to draw a circle with the diameter something like maybe 600 and down to be 600 too. So I'm going to enter, then you have something like this. I'm just going to drag it there so you can see it in context somewhere here. And that's where our shaft is going to be. So let me drag it somewhere here so that it can be in context. Yeah, so here it is where it's supposed to be positioned. So it's going to be somewhere like there. So I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to drag it somewhere here. So the shaft, I'm going to make sure it's fluted, because you can see here there are these things here. These are the things I'm calling flutes. So I'm going to make sure the profile is fluted. So I'm going to use my line tool to create one flute, and then you can now spread it over to through the profile. So I'm going to Ctrl Z again, use this type of line, and then I'm going to drag it out, draw out the flutes. So it's going to be something like this, and then we're going to, yeah, so we're going to design these flutes, and I'm going to make sure, let me just suspend the groups, it's okay, and it's symmetrical. So let me take one of the nodes and make sure it's symmetrical. So somewhere here, and then I'm going to position this somewhere center, like somewhere here. Yeah, with that done, now we have one of our flutes, and then I'm going to make sure they have a bit of curvature. So I'm going to take a curve and then do like this, and then do the same with the other one too, like this. So with that done, now we have one of our flutes, and then I'm going to now select it. Let me make sure I've just selected the flutes. Let me regroup them. Then I'm going to Control U and rotate it through the whole profile. So I'm going to Control U, and I'm going to make sure the spacing is at 8 degrees, because that is what I saw. It's a bit more sensible. So I'm going to press OK and come to the center of my circle, and now rotate them like this. Actually 8 degrees is not sensible for this one. Let me Control U and make sure they're like 10 degrees apart. So come to the center here, and we're going to, yeah, so let me Control U again, and I think 15 degrees, because these things are just, there are different columns they created earlier, so they might be conflicting. So let me make sure this is 15 degrees. Let's see if it's going to be okay. Yeah, 15 degrees is okay for this one, and I'm just going to rotate it like this, and then finish it off like that. So with that finished, I can now take my circle and drag it to be on the right place that I want it to be. I want it to cover all the flutes. So it's going to be something like this. Let me just offset it so that it can be something here. Let me offset it out, that it covers everything. Yeah, something. Let's drag it again to be on these flutes here. Or actually don't need to drag it, as long as the flutes are closed, we are okay. So everything is closed, I guess. So with this done, we can just select the whole thing, and then we can copy it. First, let me see if the fill tool can work on it before we continue. Yeah, so I'm just going to make sure, let me Control Z, and then I'm going to select everything. Then I'm going to copy it. Then we're going to go back to options. We're going to complex profiles, profile manager, and we're going to create a new one. We're going to call it, make sure it's in concrete again, and then you're going to create a new one and call it shaft. So it's already existing, so I'm going to shaft 2 maybe. So I'm going to press OK, and then something like this is going to appear again. So I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste actually the profile that we have. So I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to drag it to where the origin is. I don't think the origin is down here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to place it near it. So let me just highlight it again, and it's going to be somewhere near it like this. So I'm going to go to my fill tool, and then I'm going to fill up this area with my fill. Then I'm going to do the same thing with what we did with the capital and the base. So I'm going to make sure it's paint. Let me look for it. Let me just look for paint manually, and glossy white. Yeah, so with that done, now for this one, I'm going to select the fill, and I'm going to use it as a column. I'm going to deselect the wall, and then I'm going to use it now as a column. So I'm going to save it, and it's going to appear somewhere here. So I'm going to close it again, and then now we're going to go to design and our column, and we are going to use the one that we just created, shaft 2. So I'm going to now place it there. Just going to place it there, and it's going to appear something like this. So let me remove this, and let me just drag it somewhere to the center there. Let me make sure it's at the center, or at the where I want it to be. So yeah, so let's now see what we have in 3D. Let me select everything here and show selection in 3D. We have something like this. So this is what I was saying, and I'm going to select this one and make sure the pens are black so that they can be a bit more conspicuous. Something like this, and yeah, something like this. I can see. Let me see it. You can see something is already popping up, and then we can now put our capital on top and finish off our column. So I'm going back to ground floor, and I'm just going to open everything now, and then I'm going to show it in 3D. Then I'm just going to take my capital and drag it to the top here. Yeah, where it's supposed to be here. So yeah, with that done, now we have something like this. It's not actually on top. Let me go back to 3D and make sure it's on top. Let me just place it and drag it manually here, and just drag it to make it to be at the center somewhere here. Let me drag it again. Yeah, so it's supposed to be at the center actually. So yeah, so we can now rotate and see what we have. So you can see we have our custom column here. Let me just open elevation because it's a bit more cumbersome now. Let's go for a viewpoint, and we're just going to open the elevation. That is not going to open many things. Let me show the layer, and then open the elevation. Then we're going to drag the capital into position. So current view settings. Yeah, and then we're going to make sure everything is okay. Yeah, so let me go to the elevation settings, and we can make sure the range is a bit high. So general, and then the height, I want it to be infinite. So I'm going to press OK, and it's going to show me something like this. So with that done, I'm going to make sure it's at the center here. Yeah, and then you can see something like this. It's already looking good. So let me make sure the right place is where the elevation is at the right point. Let's go to 3D and see where it's obstructed. Yeah, I think it's obstructed at this point, this other side. So I'm going to open that elevation. Yeah, let me just open all of them, many of them. So somewhere like this. I think this is the right place. I'm going to open this one too. We are going to make sure it's at infinite again, just to make sure the capital is at the right point. It's at the center. Let me just make sure if this is, yeah, this is the right one. So I'm going to drag this capital to the center. Just drag it again a bit. Yeah, just drag it a bit, something. Yeah, so with that done, now you can see it's at the center and we have our column ready for saving. So I'm just going to now go back to our perspective, our 3D, and I'm going to highlight everything and go to file. I'm going to libraries and objects and then save selection as, I'm going to save it as an object. So I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to call it column. Let me just call it custom column. Now I can use it in my plans, and let me save it. I'm going to press OK. So it's going to save it into my file, and let's just go back to the ground floor and see if you can use it now. So let me go to the objects. Let me go to design and then objects, and it's going to already be ready for selection, and then I'm just going to put it down. So you can see, let me just go and highlight it again and see it in 3D. So show selection in 3D, and you're going to have something like this. So it's going to be a custom column, and you can now override the surface with what you want. So that's how you can make a custom column in ARCHICAD. So hope you've learned something, and hope you can do more practice so that you can have your own perfect column for your project. So thank you for watching, and make sure you stay subscribed to my channel so that you can become more creative with the software and learn more things. So thanks for watching.